Yes, yes, boys. Ryjack is back here for another live stream. Today we are here to recap City's FA Cup W semifinal win yesterday over boy, what a game it was over Nottingham Forest. Excuse me. Anyway, before we do get into it, as always, do leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you are new. I appreciate all the comments, of course, and I respond to all of them, as well as new subs is very nice, very helpful in reaching my new goal of 150 subs. Very close to that, so thank you again, as always, for that. All things football. I see you already in the chat. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing today? I know you were here for the watch along yesterday, so always appreciate your support, my guy. Very much appreciated. So, I think it's only right if we dive into the final here. We've got the stats pulled up, and I would say it was a professional win. It was a professional win from City. It was not overly, I guess, silky, not silky smooth, exciting football, but it was professional. We got the job done, scored early, beginning of both halves, really had Forest create some chances with a bit of, a 10-minute spell where they hit the woodwork a few times. But other than that, it was all City the entire time. Very impressed for me with the game. If you look here at the momentum chart, it's all City. Basically all of it minus this little spell, a few minutes here from 66 to 71, 5 minutes there, and then again 5 minutes at the end where they just kind of went all out. But City do great, get the job done, advance to the final where we will play Crystal Palace in a few weeks' time at Wembley once again. And it's just very exciting stuff because it's been a very poor season, as we all know, very poor. But looking possible to end it with a big trophy, the FA Cup, and Champions League football, which is not necessarily an achievement, I guess, for our stature of a club, but it is something that we should be proud of achieving this season should we get that done. We went from being almost knocked out by a League One team to being on a no-loss streak. True. We have to think about the entire season as a whole and how we rate that. That's a good thing to discuss as well. Is the poorness of the season, the season's failures, pasted over by winning the FA Cup? No, I think it's not, but it is at least a step in the right direction. So, if we look at the stats, like I said, they did actually win the XG battle, but the XG battle is not necessarily something that always tells the tale of how the game went, because we took our chances and they did not. So that is obviously more important to me. We get an early goal, Rico Lewis, giving Pep some, appreciation and showing him that he was correct to start him. And many people in the chat and on Twitter were not happy with Rico Lewis starting, but scores obviously basically right away. Kovacic, great performance, puts in one of his best in a City shirt, repaying some confidence from Pep as well. Then they bring on Alanga for the second half, and he is obviously, I'm not sure why he didn't play the whole game. I thought he was very good. He had an opportunity to score, put it wide, doesn't take it, and then right after that, Josko scores on a header, on a corner. A corner taken by Omar Marmoush, which obviously he should be on corners, not Kev. I know everybody loves Kev, and we all appreciate his City legacy, but should not be taking corners. He's not the best corner taker. Omar Marmoush hits it different. I love Omar Marmoush on corners. The game goes on a bit where Gibbs White has a great opportunity to score. He rounds the keeper and should score, but it clangs off the post. We get a little lucky there. He has an incredible weak foot volley from just outside the top of the box. Bangs against the woodwork. Would have been a goal of the season in the FA Cup, surely. Had it gone in, would have been a worldie, but does not. He has another header that's right at the keeper, so he could have had a hat trick today, in all honesty. All in all, I did think Gibbs White was very good, very impressive, and I can see why City are at least interested in buying him this summer. I don't know if it's a definite, I would 100% do it, but in his, I guess, audition, he was good. He did have words with Pep after the game as well, smiling, just some talking. Who knows what they said, but you never know. Could have been, hey man, you did great today. Can't wait to buy you in the summer. Something like that. Who knows? If we look at the player ratings here, we have Ortega getting a solid 8. He did not have a whole lot to do, but the header that was right at him, he did save. Made a few good saves, got the ball out quickly. I don't think he had any major errors in distribution from my recollection. So I'm good with Ortega's performance. And Ederson should be coming back, but Ortega's been solid in this stint replacing him. I know this season hasn't been the best for Ortega, but he's been a solid option, at least since this latest Ederson injury. No bozo moments from Ortega that I can recall. Backline, once again, extremely solid. Impressive performances from all 4 of them. Josko probably the best once again. He scores, obviously. Is a major threat on set pieces that we do not utilize enough at all, to be honest. But the Vardiol-Diaz partnership is seemingly just what we're going to roll with for the rest of the season. We have started that same back two pairing for quite a while now, so it's something you like to see, and hopefully that goes into next season as something we see a lot more of, Diaz and Gvardiol, because you guys know we have not seen Gvardiol at center back basically at all in his City time. To be honest, right back Nunez, solid once again. Nothing outstanding. No bozos yesterday though, which is nice to see. O'Reilly continues to be a revelation at left back. I mean, kid's 20 years old and not a left back, but has been outstanding since coming into the side. This back 4, I think, is just what we're going to roll with for a while, as they're keeping clean sheets or keeping it to 1 goal, and it's been very good. So maybe Kusanov gets in, maybe Akanji gets in, we'll see. No Gibbs White, he's good, but there's better options on the market, example, Wirtz, Palmer, etc. I do agree that Gibbs White is a good player, but he's not a world-class player. He's much more of a squad rotational player. Like, I would think of him as a rotation, as a replacement for Kovacic, maybe Bernardo Silva, maybe Gundogan, versus the KDB replacement, which needs to be like a Cole Palmer or Florian Wirtz. So I think him, in addition to one of those 2 players, Palmer, Wirtz, whoever the other 10 that we purchase would be, is a good thing. If he becomes the 10 replacement, I think that's probably poor. Probably not good enough, in my opinion. Bernardo was all right. Always running. Work rate is always through the roof. Can't be too upset with, Bernardo. He's not going to score a lot. He's not going to create a lot, but he's always there, and I thought he did a good job controlling the midfield yesterday. I don't think he did anything outstanding, but fine. No problem. Mateo Kovacic, however, probably his best performance in a City shirt. I'm giving him man of the match for me. Without a doubt, he had the assist to get Rico Lewis the goal to start the game, and he was a phenomenal ball carrier yesterday. If I click on him here, he completed the most dribbles in the match, 5. I mean, he was great. Accurate passes, 94%. Created 2 chances. Had a .21 xG of his own. I mean, if you just look, he was very impressive. 10 recoveries in the midfield. That's fantastic. 7 duels won to 6 lost, and was fouled at some point. So while he is getting older, and 30 years old is someone City may look to cash in on this summer, I think if we do a major overhaul, you have to keep some of the midfielders. I'm probably leaning towards Kovacic. I was maybe considering keeping Gundo, but now I lean a little bit more towards Kovacic. He's got obviously 4 years on him, and he does better when there's really good players around him. I think he's very good in that role. When he's surrounded with world-class talent, he can really shine as a ball carrier, and I like that. Savinho, I didn't really notice very much. I don't think he had an all-out very good game. But again, it wasn't really a game where we used our wingers a lot. It was more to compact this midfield here with this four-man midfield, and then Marmoush and Savinho were kind of not on the ball quite as much as maybe they normally are. So he was fine, nothing outstanding. It is what it is. I don't think it was really the game for Savinho. Marmoush, however, very good. Gets the assist on the corner. Of course, like I talked about, He had a very impressive dribble from almost the other side of the pitch all the way through and just couldn't quite finish. Every time he plays, he's just very silky, smooth, athletic, fast. I mean, I'm really impressed with Omar Marmoush. I think he's going to have a banging season next year for sure, and should have a very good summer in the Club World Cup. I do hope. All Things Football says I'd prefer Gundogan as long as he takes a lower squad role. It's not a bad shout. Gundogan has had a very good last 3 months or so, and I would consider keeping him. The only factor is he's 34. Kovacic is 30. Is Gundogan going to be able to do this next season at 35? I don't know. My gut tells me no, but if he gets less games, maybe he can replicate it more often and has another good season for us. I think if you're comparing the two players in their primes, Gundogan is definitely the better player than Kovacic, but will we see this good of a Gundogan again? I don't know. Remains to be seen. He's got loads of experience with Pep to potentially educate new players. Now, that's a good shout, too. If he wants to take a very diminished role and only play in the cup games and come on for the last 10 minutes in games where we're up, multiple goals, then sure, we can keep Gundogan. I'm sure he'd be a great mentor for Wirtz, as they're both German, if he does come in this summer, or any other midfielders that we bring in. But my guess is he wants to play probably more than that, and Kovacic will probably be able to do that a little bit. But who knows? We shall see. The other two of the midfield, Rico Lewis, Jack Grealish. Rico Lewis had an outstanding game, I think. He scored the goal, obviously, was very active in the midfield. Thought he was impressive. Very impressive, actually, because he hasn't played very much lately. 90% on pass accuracy, created his one chance, scored it. Let's see about duels and defensively. He won a duel, lost 3. But again, he's not really going to win you many duels. He's kind of diminutive in size and not very physical. But in the small spaces, as Pep always says, he is very good. Grealish, I thought, was not great. He didn't really have a whole lot to do. It says he created 2 chances, but I don't really remember anything of note from Jack Grealish. He did get to play in the midfield, which is something a lot of us have asked for and want to see. And he was able to kind of operate on the left and come into the midfield and play there. And I just wasn't really the game for Grealish. But hard to say it's his fault. He hasn't played in quite a while. Is he match fit? Probably not. So I don't know. I can't really blame Grealish on that one personally. Now, if we look at City going forward, of course, we've got 4 Premier League games left. The FA Cup final, May 17th, coming up, which is unfortunate that it's not after the season here. I always kind of like that. The Prem season ends, then you go play the FA Cup next weekend, but I guess with the condensed schedule, they're not doing that anymore. It's a week before the end of the Premier League season. This game surely will be rearranged. We're not going to play Saturday at 10 and then again Sunday at 2. So that's not happening. Who knows where this game will be? Probably on the Wednesday, either before or after is most likely, I would say, for that rearranged fixture. But the run-in we have in the Premier League is not overly difficult. We've got Wolves at home, should win that. Southampton on the road, they're one of the worst Premier League teams I've ever seen in my life. They're already relegated, so they got nothing to play for, should win that one. Then we have the FA Cup final. We'll talk about that another time. Bournemouth should be a tough one, but at this point, Bournemouth will most likely be kind of locked into a place where they're either definitely in Europe or they're definitely not getting Europe. So I don't think they'll have a whole lot to play for other than pride. You know how that is at the end of the season. The games kind of always go with the teams that have more to play for. Fulham away to end the season will be difficult, probably the most difficult, I would say, of the remaining fixtures, but is not an impossible game to win or anything like that. If we look at the table, Liverpool obviously crowned champions the other day. Not anything shocking. We all have known that for quite some time now, as the rest of the Premier League has been extremely poor this season. But City do sit 4th on 61 points. 4 games, like I said. I think if we get to 70 points, 3 wins, that is almost certainly a lock for Champions League football. Chelsea on 60, right behind us. Forest also on 60 with a game in hand, but again, difficult one against Brentford. So their form is dipping. Obviously, they've lost 2 of their last 3 Premier League games. Could see a bit of a spiral now that they're out of the FA Cup, or maybe that rallies them and they finish well. Very tight from 3rd all the way to 6th, even 7th. I mean, Villa are not quite out of it, but it would be difficult to recover this gap here. And like I said, this finishing in the top 5 is so important for City. So important. It's going to give us the funds to rebuild this summer, and a massive rebuild is certainly incoming, certainly important, and very something I'm looking forward to, making a content for you guys, as well as just seeing the team buy players and sell players. It's a very exciting time. Club World Cup coming in the summer as well, which I'll be going to a game in Orlando, very close to where I live here in the States. So another thing to be excited about. We'll pull up Twitter and some bookmarks that I have here. Some exciting stuff. There's been a lot of Diogo Costa news today. I will start from this morning here. City expected to move again, not shocking here, but another report of City wanting Andrea Cambiasso. Juventus looking at left backs. Apparently, Nuno Tavares is someone they're targeting, which means they expect Cambiasso to leave. So I think that deal probably gets done. Hopefully, gets done before the start of the World Cup, so we have him and can integrate him in the squad. He gets those training sessions with Pep. That would be very nice to see. Very exciting. Hopefully, he is one that really improves the squad, because we haven't bought a left back in quite some time, and hopefully it is the right decision. Fabrizio Romano comes out, and again, not any game-changing breaking news, but he says Ederson could leave this summer, and he was going to go to Saudi, but they didn't ever pay the release clause, or not the release clause, but the money that City wanted, and they're probably going to come back this summer. Not, again, anything groundbreaking, but seeing Fabrizio tweet it obviously it's confirmed news, and I think Ederson will, without 100%, leave this summer. And then the Diogo Costa news comes out, and all things football, you do say no way Porto sell for 40. It's just the initial same thing we did with Marmoush, lowballed them, then went up. I do agree with that. His release clause is 60 million. City don't want to spend that much money. We have bid 40 million. Like you said, it's a low ball. Hopefully they come down. Maybe it ends up, 48, 52, something like that, or we get the deal done. Or if Porto are unwilling to lower it, maybe they move off and go for another goalkeeper. But at the moment, that is where the news is. It's all about this guy, Diogo Costa. And he is a very, I would say, polarizing guy on Twitter. I mean, I don't watch the Portuguese league. I don't know enough to give a full-on report on this dude. Is he good enough? Is he not good enough? But according to the analytics that I've seen, he's a good shot stopper, and he's a pretty good distributor of the ball. So those are the things we're obviously looking for. It's just apparently whenever, people post his stuff on Twitter, they say he has bozo errors, he allows these crazy goals, and people get worried. So I don't know. TB7, hey man, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Or Porto won't negotiate and we pay his release clause like we did Nico Gonzalez. That is another option, of course. They could hold completely firm and say that nothing under 60 million will get the job done for City. I imagine if that is the case, we might move to another goalie prospect to see if we can get a cheaper deal. Because if we're spending 300 million this summer, or thereabouts, 350, 250, whatever it is, 60 million on a goalie is quite expensive. It's a huge chunk of what you're able to spend in the summer. So I don't know. I can see why they would want to keep it around the 40, 45 number and not get kind of rinsed for 60. I don't know. Tommy says we might need 2 keepers or even 3. Yes, that is true. I think most likely I would say that we need 2. Ederson leaving, Ortega is going to find out City have no plans to play him in the number one role. Is he going to want to be a backup again? I'm going to say no. He's going to say no to that and want to leave, get his own first team football, maybe go back to Germany. There are links for him, of course, to go to Leverkusen. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. Maybe he goes to another team not quite as good as Leverkusen. Who knows? Shane Simon says, hello, how are you? Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to the stream. We're just talking transfers at the moment. That is most of what I've seen. I can do a check to see if there's any bit of more news or anything like that. Let me look here. Let's look. No. I know there's a lot of news about the ticketing situation and people, ragging on City for their problems with getting deals, getting people over to Wembley, and I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's kind of a low blow when the tickets are as expensive as they are. Like we go to Wembley all the time. People probably just decided to not go and want to save money to go to the final. I mean, that's what I would probably do. I don't want to go down to Wembley from Manchester, every 2 weeks or something and just spend so much money. It's a difficult one for me. So I understand why people wouldn't want to go to this. I do believe the semis should not be at Wembley. I don't really understand why they would be at Wembley. I think they should be maybe like a neutral site between where the teams are located so fans don't have to go so far. But I don't know. It seems like everything is at Wembley for whatever reason. It's very different here in the States. They always do neutral sites all over the place. So I don't really know. Alex87 says opinions on Gibbs White. Well, let me pull up his analytics page here so we can talk about Gibbs White. I like Gibbs White. I think he is a good player. I don't think he is an outstanding player. I don't mean to be harsh on him. I thought he was pretty good the other day against City. But I don't think he's someone that I was like, wow, I can't wait to sign this guy. Like when Jude Bellingham was available, he was one that I thought, wow, Jude would be incredible for us. Or Declan Rice, I thought, wow, he would be incredible for us. Gibbs White, you look at his stats, 29 games played in the Prem. He's got 12 GNA. That's not bad. It's not, mega or anything like that, but he does play for Nottingham Forest, who don't score a whole lot of goals, I guess, if you think about it. They're more of a counter-attacking team, which, again, is a bit of a concern as well because City don't counter-attack basically at all. Is he able to play in a team where we hold the ball, our dominant possession most of the time, and just kind of play that 8 role like Gundogan has done in the past, where he's like a box crasher and he can spray balls to both wings. I don't know. I think he can. I think he can do the job, but I don't think he will be a world-class player for City. I think he'll be a solid squad rotation option. If you scroll down, his numbers, his analytic numbers over here on the left are not anything crazy. If you look at the other midfielders we're looking at, like Wirtz, they're very good. They're very impressive. He's got high 80s, 90s in almost everything. Whereas Gibbs White has a lot more red in the pages over here on the left. Non-penalty goals is low. Assist is high, which is something you like to see. Nice. Shot creating actions is semi-high. Again, he's in a Forest team that don't create a whole lot, so the numbers naturally will be a bit lower, but defensively he kind of does shine, which is nice. You kind of also think about they defend a whole lot, so naturally these numbers will be a little bit higher than a team like Leverkusen, where Wirtz has the ball a lot and doesn't have to do much defending. Players he is similar to, Xavi Simons is one that City are linked with a little bit. There's only been that one tweet from maybe a week ago or so about him. We haven't had much since then. But other players that are relatively, that I've heard of and I know are pretty good. Koopmeiners I know is all right for Juventus. Obviously Bruno G is very good for United. And Julian Brandt is a pretty good player in his own right. So it's hard to say. If you look at his midfield, if he's solely a midfield, numbers do significantly improve. So maybe there's that as a positive. Again, a little less in the defensive area if we're comparing him to midfielders, because that loops in a lot of the midfield options. All Things Football says Rodri will be back next year, so we need a more attacking player. He is almost too defensive. That's fair. I mean, it's a difficult one to think about what we're going to do with Rodri back. Are we going to run this sort of 4-2, 4-2-2 kind of with the box midfield where you have like the 4 defenders and you have Rodri and someone with him, or are we going to have 2 attacking like 8-10s? And if you get Wirtz, I think ideally the option is Rodri sits by himself and the 2 players in front of him are Wirtz and Foden. And then you have Haaland up top, Marmoush on the left, and who knows on the right. You know, there's a lot of options for the right wing. You could have like Oscar Bob. Even, you know what, let me do this. Let's pull up a lineup and we can look at building a lineup for next season. Because it's interesting. It's a difficult one when you don't know who you're going to get, but imagining Gibbs White in the lineup, it might be better to see visually. And this is kind of what I think. I think you guys can help me in the chat for sure. Let me know what you guys think as well. But if I do this is our lineup here. In goal, we're going to say, let's just, for argument's sake, say it is Diogo Costa here. And then our center back pairing of Gvardiol and Diaz can remain for the time being. Right back, I don't know who we would go with there, but the left back, let's say, is Cambiaso because we buy him. And then the midfielder is Rodri. Who's the deepest one? Let's say we buy Wirtz, who is right there, very attacking player. Haaland is there as the striker. Marmoush is probably the left wing, right there. And then it gets interesting. Is this player Foden? Is the right wing Foden? Is this Gibbs White? Who do you put at right back? Is that still Mateus Nunes? Where does Nico O'Reilly play? How does he fit in exactly? Does Cambiaso go on the right and Nico go on the left? So I don't know. It's a difficult one. I'd put Cambiaso at right back, keep Nico at left back. We could do that. I mean, we could look at that. Nico O'Reilly, where are you? Nico O'Reilly. So if he's there, we have that. We have O'Reilly there. And then maybe we just, for the sake of argument, we say Foden is there and Gibbs White is here. I mean, it's not a bad team. Is this team good enough to win the Premier League? That's the question. Are they good enough to win the Champions League? I mean, possibly. I think so. I do think so. You've got a lot of versatility, a lot of options to move players in and out. You still have Oscar Bob. You still have, let's see, Kovacic is probably staying potentially. You've got some other good center back options. I don't know. I think it could look something like this, in all honesty. The thing is, where does Pep see Foden playing? Is Foden able to play here, or is it Foden or Wirtz here, and then we have to have someone else? Does he think Foden and Wirtz can play together? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do like this lineup, I think, and I think this is what something like how it will look, in all honesty. And it is probably good enough to compete in all comps next season. So I like that for the moment, for the time being. Anyway, we are coming up on 30 minutes, so always appreciate you guys coming, watching, hanging out with me. Very appreciated the support. It's very nice, very awesome to see. I'd not sign Gibbs White, put Foden with Wirtz, and put Savio Rodako up there. That's another option as well, for sure. We will wrap it up here. I'll be putting out a TikTok later today, maybe tomorrow as well. Hopefully we get some more transfer news so I can go live again. And we can do some more of these talks and transfer builds over the next few weeks as we get to the end of the season. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. I'll be back as soon as there's some more news so we can discuss everything. So thank you. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. City till we